Hello everyone and welcome back to A Dancer's Mindset with myself, Isabella. Today we're going to be interviewing Victor Caixeta. Now Victor is a wonderful Brazilian dancer who started ballet late at the age of 13. He then went on to compete in the Moscow Ballet competition at the age of 17. At 17 he was offered a contract by Yury Fateev, who noticed him in that competition. Victor jumped at the chance, went to the Mariinsky Ballet and was brought on by the coaches to perform many leading roles. Victor, now with Het National Ballet, will be talking with us today about many things, including the decision to leave Mariinsky and go to Het National Ballet. Victor is a very courageous, inspiring and beautiful dancer, and I can't wait for you all to hear what he has to say and for me to speak with him today. Let's meet Victor. Thank you so much for joining me today. I know my viewers are going to be, really happy to hear from you and learn from you and hear your inspiring stories, because I read up on you myself, obviously being a little bit familiar with your story. And yeah, it's really inspiring. I can't wait to speak with you today.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So I want to start early on in life. And so we hear your story from the beginning. Where were you born, and when was it you took your first ballet class, and why?
So I'm a Brazilian. I come from a very small city called Uberlândia. And my mom used to say that I always dance at home when I was a child, but I can't recall this. The only thing I can remember about my childhood was her being very picky with school. I had to always be a good student. But I was always very energetic. And then she put me in a sort of second school. It was more like she had to work. So this place, it was a place plenty of activities. So football, computer, and music, and dance. And then there was the director of this, the biggest ballet school, let's say, in my city, came to do audition for a social project, because I come from a very poor background, and they had this social project there. And then I was the only kid that she took for this project. At the time I was 11, but then when I moved to this school to actually start at ballet, I was already 12. A bit late for ballet. And yes, so.
Yeah, that's quite late. When was it your teachers in this school started to, see that you had potential to actually take this on as a career?
Well, when she saw me, and she told my mom that obviously I don't want to just give the scholarship for him to be an average student. But I see something on him. I don't know what, because obviously I couldn't do anything at the age of 12. I have never danced before. And I couldn't do the splits. My foot were not good at all. I was very weak. I was just very skinny,
yeah,
with long legs. But she said something about my eyes and my smile. That's what got her attention. And but I would say from day one, she told me if I wanna be a dancer, I should run after the time that I lose, that I didn't dance from my childhood. So I should work on my body and do classes every day. So from the first day, I started ballet for 5 days a week already, in a very serious routine.
And did you enjoy that? Did you enjoy the work?
Well, I did. I did enjoy ballet so much. I didn't really understand, but I loved challenges, and I loved that I was not really good at it. And I see all these people in the room, kind of making fun of me, or just think I'm cute, but I didn't want to be cute. I wanted to be good. And I took it as a challenge. I didn't really understand what I was doing too. I don't know, the first time I went on stage. So it was more like I wanted to be good at everything. So in ballet also.
Yeah, well, that's amazing. I think, well, when I discovered Russian ballet, and I want to ask you next when it was you've actually discovered Russian ballet, but that was for me when I realized, okay, this is really hard work, and she's slapping my feet. I don't know why. I'm crying, but I think I like this. Maybe that's strange. But I was like, I think I like working really, really hard. And I
Yeah.
just want to hear from you when it was that you know, discovered Russian ballet or Russian dancers, you know.
So my teacher, she's Brazilian, but she did the studies for to become a teacher in Moscow in at the Bolshoi. So she has a very like small school in Brazil, and she likes to work mostly like with people that is talent. She has that are talented. She has this project, and so she doesn't take people to get money from them to pay for classes. You know, she doesn't care at all about this. She only wants to make dancers, and I think that was it. Like the first contact with the. I mean, it was not Russian ballet, but she was Russian taught,
Mm.
and later on, when I was 14, her daughter used to study piano in St. Petersburg in Russia. And she married a Russian dancer there. And they both moved to Brazil. So then I started having class with a Russian teacher also.
Oh,
And he was a man. So, you know, all the male technique and everything I kind of learned from him before leaving Brazil. But obviously I always knew like these big names, you know.
mm.
And I remember when Mariinsky went to Brazil to perform in Rio de Janeiro. I couldn't go because it was far from my city. The tickets were too expensive. But I remember my teacher brought me the program of it was Le Corsaire, and there was Kim In King on the cover, and I told her I'm gonna be there. And she's like, "Are you crazy? This is a Russian ballet company. There's no foreigners. Like, but I like that you want it. So work hard for it." But
Well, there's a
somehow I
foreigner on the
knew.
front.
Yeah, yeah, right.
He's not Russian.
Yeah,
Oh, that's amazing. Oh, I mean, we'll talk about Mariinsky in a moment, but yeah, that must have been. There's surreal moments, you know, later on where you're like, I saw it, like, especially because you know Kim and Kim is your colleague now, your friend, and you're like, yeah, I said to myself, I'll be you one day. Um, so you went to Berlin. Initially you went to Canada, but I remember seeing you didn't like Canada so much because you couldn't practice in the studios at night, which
yeah.
obviously for you is important because you want to continually get better and catch up, you know. And
So Canada, it was like a choice I made when I was 14 because I've when while I was doing the competitions, I kept getting the scholarship from Canada. So they really showed interest on me. And then my teacher wanted me to go somewhere where they really wanted me, you know, because in at Brit Lausanne, I got around 18 scholarships to all these like big schools, Royal Ballet School, ABT. But she didn't want me to go and just be one more, you know, she wanted me to be me. And then in Canada, I couldn't be me. So, and because I was so eager to learn and to do it, and I knew that my time was, you know, it was passing by so quick that in 6 months I realized that was not my place, and I left, to Berlin. Yeah,
yeah, that's really inspiring actually, because obviously, you know, when you get offered all these schools and major schools, in order to turn them down because you didn't want to be one of many, some people would think, you know, that was crazy. But I think that shows
yeah,
a lot of maturity in you from quite a young age and trust in your teacher that
yeah.
she knew
I
what was.
still like any problems I have with ballet, with not ballet things, I call her. She's like, just for an advice, you know, 1 minute call. What should
Like
I
your
do?
second
What should I
mum.
say? Yeah, yeah,
And so you're in Berlin, and was it you or your teachers in Berlin that decided to enter you into the Moscow Ballet competition? Or was it a joint decision?
It was, I think, a joint decision. The school in Berlin, it's different from the other schools because most of these professional ballet schools, these big schools, they don't really allow the students to go for competition because the main goal is to get like a scholarship for a big school. And I mean, Berlin was a big school, but they liked that to put us on stage. And this is what I needed because I mean, as I started late, so that's what I liked about Berlin. So that year I did all the big competitions in Europe, and I was first place in Vienna and in Berlin Tanzolin, and that's when I got pre-selected to Moscow competition. And then we wanted that challenge, you know. I mean, Moscow is like the Olympic Games,
Yes,
and
big one.
yeah, and uh, so we decided to go together. It was funny because I think a week before I was kind of diagnosed with my foot. Like many people said different things, stress fracture. I mean, it was a whole mess. It was very painful. Obviously, they didn't want let me go for the competition. But then at the time, I was already almost turning 18, and I said that my parents would make a document for me allowing me to go to the competition if they wanted me to compete as a student from Berlin school. They would like support my decision, but if not, I'm going alone and compete as competing with my with my school from Brazil.
Okay.
And then obviously they didn't want that, and I was also dancing with a girl from the school, so it would also be hard for her to change for like a solo, you know. I was competing as a pas de deux.
Okay.
Do it.
Yeah.
And then we went. I don't know, somehow I always get these things that where I need to go, what I need to do. And I mean, Moscow was calling no matter what, no matter if my foot was not okay. Obviously, I regret a little bit some things that I did, you know, when I was injured. It's not healthy, obviously, but turned out to be okay. I mean, after my first appearance on stage, I got the invitation for the Mariinsky. So
yeah, I mean, that's really great though that you can really trust your gut like that, you know, like you kind of sleep on it and then you think, no, I know what I need to do. My foot's going to hang on. But yes, so this competition was a real breakthrough for you where, you know, Yury Fateev discovered you and told you after your first solo, not even left you to do the whole thing,
yeah.
that he wanted to speak with you because, you know, he was interested in you. But that made you very nervous, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Uh, I remember it was after my first variation. So it was like they divide by the groups. I think, I don't know, let's say 25 people. And then there's a little break. And then this 25 people dance their second solo. And after my first solo, I was one of the firsts to compete. He came back to the backstage, and then we also got a call from one of his friends, which is the director of the Youth America Grand Prix, Larissa Savaliev. He asked her if she knows me because he was like written there that I've been to YGP many times. If it's someone that she trusts, if she thinks I have potential, because he wanted me. And then and he talked to me, and then when I came for the second variation, it was a mess. I was so nervous. I even fell on the floor. And I thought to myself, that's it. The contract is gone.
Offer revoked.
Yeah.
No, but it worked out, didn't it? He offered you a place, a contract. Yeah. And how did that make you feel? Because obviously that was 2 years before you were supposed to graduate. You're only 17, right?
Yeah. So that was a bit tricky because the school has the bachelor program in Berlin. And then I really wanted to get that bachelor because I mean it's very important for you to have a degree in dance, and I like my family always wanted me to, I mean, to be a dancer, but always to have an education. So I obviously didn't get the bachelor because I didn't finish the whole thing, but I did get like a document, a diploma saying I finished all my ballet education, and then that I could go. So because it was also tricky with the school, they were not really, you know, wanting to give me this document, this diploma, and I said, well, in Brazil I can get this. So you want some like student from your school to be a dancer in Mariinsky or not?
Yeah, do you
And
want that on your
yeah,
put that on your wall?
obviously they helped me a lot, and I'm very grateful for them.
Yeah, of course. Because yeah, without them, maybe Moscow wouldn't have happened, you know.
Not at all,
Um,
yeah.
and just briefly talking about competitions, because obviously there's a lot of talk whether competitions are a good idea for dancers, you know, whether there's too much focus on competitions and does it take away, you know, the art of ballet, you know, sort of competing. Obviously, you had a very good experience with competitions, and do you think it's important for dancers to do competitions to further their career or get into a school? And is there a downside if you could think of any?
Well, I would say for me it was the only way. I didn't have a family to support me financially to go places for audition,
Mm.
or uh, to send just my video. And because this way, when you only send your video, it's harder for you to get a full term scholarship. When
Yeah,
they see you in a competition, in a variation, in a very stressful, you know, situation, they see how you handle things, and then they also see you. Most of these competitions have classes, so they will see also your ballet class, and they're there for a week. They can test you for a whole week.
yeah,
And for me it was the only way, let's say.
yeah,
uh, but I do get why people also don't really like competitions and focus too much on this and then forget what is really important.
mm,
I think what's important is in the classroom, you with the teacher, no
mm,
matter where,
mm.
uh, learning and progressing. So if you can find a balance in that, that's great, because competitions can also be fun, you know. You
Yeah,
can meet friends, have all these workshops, and but that's not the only thing. And I feel now that I'm a professional dancer, I don't want to do any other competitions. I'm done with this. There's like professional dancers that keep doing
oh yeah,
competitions
like
because
Varna and stuff.
yes, there is money prizes that, you know, they want. There is also recognition, uh, and other things, or like just the work process for a competition, which is very intense and makes you improve.
Mm.
But for me it's not interesting anymore, you know. I feel like it's mostly for students to show themselves and show their potential.
Yeah, I think if they, you know, competitions can further someone like yourself, opportunity, you know, such as, you know, if you're looking for more and bigger and better opportunities, such as going to a better school or a company, then they're great. I think it's competitions are good when you're focused on furthering your opportunity rather than focused just on winning, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I actually never really, I started winning like big competitions in my last year as a student, because before I mean, I started ballet really late, so people would see more like my potential and see that I was not ready, but everything was there. I just
Yeah.
needed time, you know. So I was not winning the prize, but I always won like tons of scholarships, you know. Sometimes the winner of the first prize wouldn't get as many scholarships I would get. I remember that in Pitlosan,
Yeah.
there was many dancers in Pitlosan who were prize winners, and then had a hard time finding a school to keep work going, or a company. So yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's really interesting. We could talk about that for an hour. Um, but let's go back to Russia because you moved to Russia quite quickly then when you got the opportunity. And was that a bit of a culture shock for you when you first went there? Because obviously you've come from lovely sunny Brazil, and and it's now very cold Russia. Tell us more about that, and because obviously I experienced the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the let's say the cold wasn't what bothered me the most there. I mean, it wasn't that big of a change because I was in Canada during winter and
Yes.
also in Berlin. So I mean, obviously Russia's much colder, but that was okay. It was not like a shock, from Brazil to Russia.
Yeah.
But let's say that the language was really hard for me. Like my first year, I suffered a lot because I love Russian people. They're great, but they will only open up to you once you start learning their language. They won't. Even if they can, they won't speak to you in English or in other language. So
no. No. So when you joined, obviously, the language barrier, and I found when I was in the school, I didn't speak any Russian either, and they didn't speak any English. So there was a lot of like really like examining what they were doing with their body, like this is how you should do it, like this, not like this, and then you'd like just see the shapes of the body and be like, oh, okay.
yeah.
So that it's like that. Okay, I got it. Понятно.
Yeah.
And did you feel, because obviously, Mariinsky is incredibly special, and I feel like when they take in young dancers such as yourself, and they often train you up for a while, because you need to well, did you feel like you needed to catch up a lot with any sort of Vaganova specific things?
Oh yeah. Oh boy, yes. Well, let's say like technique, like tricks and things like this, not so much, because I mean, since my first year, I always did variations, things like, but Russia is so special about style and about arms and coordination. I mean, arms in general was and hands was like, I'm still like working on it, but let's say my first 2 years, it's very specific. So for me, I would only go to the studio with my teacher and only do the arms. I would even feel bad for the pianist. She would come just to play the music, and I would just only do the port de bras.
Oh
I
my
wouldn't do anything for 1 hour. So
wow.
uh,
Who was your
our,
teacher at that point?
when I arrived, um, I was not in the corps de ballet. I mean, in the contract, yes, because we started from there. But Yury always had a plan to give me a soloist contract, and he took me as a soloist in his mind, but was not official until I was strong enough. So for a month, I was just taking classes, watching the rehearsals, and then once I'm walking the corridor, and then this legendary teacher, Gennady Naumовich Seleutsky, who unfortunately is not with us anymore. He just saw me he never saw me dancing. He saw me in the corridor. He's like, "Who are you?" And then I couldn't speak any Russian, and then I tried to explain who I was, and then he just saw me like marking something from class, and he's like, "You tomorrow," and then he come to the schedule and like, "Here, rehearsal." And then I was like, what?
And you're like, oh my God.
Yeah. He's this teacher, like the teacher of all these big stars, all these people I've been looking up to. Yeah. And what does he want to do with me one by one in studio? I was really like afraid of it. I remember I didn't sleep at all that day. I was stretching and doing like trying to, abs, be strong. And then he started. He's like, show me a variation, whatever you want. We have the pianist. She can play anything. And I was so stressed. And then I remember I did around 5 variations. And then...
must have been dead.
Yeah, I was, trying my best. And then he called the secretary of the director and to translate to me. And he says, from now on, we'll be working together.
Oh, so this was the test.
Yeah. And then, I was like over the moon. And then we began, our work was endless.
Mm.
Uh, After that day, we stayed 3 months without a single day off. I'm not kidding. The whole company was resting on Mondays. Monday in Russia is usually the day off for the dancers. And we were there because he was like, "You have a lot to catch up. Do you want this?" And I say, "Yes." And then it was after a, a while, I had my first big role. Meanwhile, I was doing some little solos, some duos, trios, things like this.
Mm-hmm.
And then on my first year, I had the Nutcracker Prince. And that for me was the highlight of my career. It was like I passed the test, because usually the Vaganova students, like the top of the class, they have this tradition of doing Nutcracker every year.
Yeah.
The top of the class will do the Masha princess and the prince.
Mm-hmm.
So because I was not in Vaganova, that's I think what they wanted to do,
Yeah.
and it was like me and Mei Nagahisa, which is the Japanese girl that I used to dance a lot there, and we both got thrown on stage basically, and that was our exam. Are you a real soloist of the Mariinsky or not?
Yeah.
And
We
then so it had positive results.
Yeah, of course, of course. I think, it's really interesting because obviously, when I was in the school at the time, it was still relatively new for foreigners to even be in the school. And then the company as well, like there was Zander Parish, but I think that was it. And
Yeah,
then, slowly it started to open up. And I think, having you guys on stage, two foreigners in a lead role, I think that was a really big deal for them.
yeah.
Like a
And also, I'm very grateful for Yury Fateev, the director, for trusting us like this. Obviously, we got so much, pressure on us. Lots like of Russian people, very traditional people. Like I understand why they feel this way. Like why put a Brazilian boy and a Japanese girl in a leading role? They're 18 and 17 years old. May is even younger than me.
yeah.
Like how come like you put them on stage like this to lead a company such as Mariinsky? And I'm very grateful that he trusted us with this job, and I think he was right, like he did a good job.
Yeah, I think that's what's really different about Russia as opposed to other companies is that other companies will really play it safe and like wait for a long time until they think you're really ready. Whereas Russia is like, I don't care if you fail sometimes, like let's just like shove them on
Yeah,
and see what happens because let's take a chance on them. Let's give them a chance. And although, I think that's really wonderful because it can take someone's career from 0 to 100 instantly. Um, I wonder how, like, did you feel any sort of strange vibes from the other dancers at all, or were they very supportive? The ones who have been there a while and sort of, you know,
well, those ones, the older ones, let's say, they've always been really nice to me.
oh, good.
Like I never really had problems with any like older dancer, let's say.
Mm.
But then the young ones, it was a bit of a trouble because obviously everyone is eager to dance, and then they all come from this amazing traditional ballet school. They're
Mm.
all like they all have the potentials to be like principal dancers.
Yeah.
Some have different talents, like but everyone there is great.
Mm.
So a Brazilian boy come out of nowhere, and like I never stand in the court de ballet.
Yeah.
Uh, and started and do a prince role on my first year.
Mm.
Obviously, that I mean I understand, but then I sort of gained their respect towards the
Of
years,
course. Hmm.
and yeah, I mean the past year there was really nice. I didn't have any like conflict with anyone, but my first year was a bit annoying. Like there were so much rumors. They always thought that I had rich parents that were paying for my performances, this sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's that going back to that whole thing of you have to go, you know, where you're loved. And I guess, you know, these Russian dancers in the Mariinsky are the equivalent to English dancers at the Royal Ballet. And, you know, just one of many, even if they're all amazing. And they may not be, you know, loved by Yury as much as, you know, Yury saw you, discovered you, and personally brought you here, you know. So he obviously a lot. Let's move. Oh, I was going to talk with you about, you know, nerves, because you know, you talk about how I was really nervous, and but obviously you're very good at delivering, you know, like when you get on stage, just pulling it out the bag, like, you know, Victor knows how to do it. I was just gonna say, you know, is nerves something you struggle with, and how do you deal with it when you're about to perform something big?
Well, I'm always nervous, I can say, even though most of the times it doesn't really show. Because to me, when it gets like really comfortable and really calm, it started to feel like I'm doing something. I mean, not with my heart, you know, not like something that I love. I don't want to just do that for money or like it. I mean, ballet doesn't feel like work that I'm working to, you know, put food on my table. It feels like something that I do because I was meant to be doing this thing. I came to this world to do this. It was my destiny. So I'm just following that. So obviously it feels very, you know, nervous sometimes because all these people bought tickets to see the best of you. And in your head you're like, I can't fail, I rehearsed, you know, like, and I go on stage and it disappears. I like the first step I do on stage, it goes away. It doesn't matter like if it's a trick, if it's a difficult period coming or difficult partnering, like, you know, there's very like risky things with one hand, things like that. But at the moment I sometimes even feel bad because I forget like what I'm thinking. Like I'm just there and pretending, not really pretending, I'm the like character that is on stage. And that's the way I feel. So once I go on stage, all these nerves go away. But I
Yeah.
do struggle with them. I get really anxious sometimes before performance, like the night before.
Mm.
That's why I like most of matinee performances because you wake up, you're a bit nervous, but then you go and you do class. You have no really time to get nervous before the
No.
performance because you're rushing everything. You're like class, makeup, you maybe eat something, costume on stage.
Yeah.
Once you do an evening performance, you do class in the morning, you have time to go back home, put your head on your pillow and be like, oh my God, tonight I got to be good, you know? So yeah, I think that's how it works for me.
Yeah. Have you ever had nerves affect a performance? Like, have you ever performed, you know, badly because of nerves?
Well, yes. Let's say when you're very nervous, you don't concentrate in the like, let's say in the right things.
Mm.
Uh, you're just thinking about this thing like, oh, I'm nervous, and then you forget like how to deal with some technical stuff that you know how to do, but just because of the nerves, you kind of like thinking the other way, and then you mess up because you were not really concentrated enough in that thing to work it out. So
Mm-hmm.
yes, I had a few times like this. I think everyone.
Yeah, of course, of course. I wonder, you know, how did your coaches react when something didn't go so well? You know, were they very, you know, rational about it, or were they like, you know, what was this?
Well, most of the time they're like this because they see me every day in the studio. We like, you know, they know that what I can do and what I cannot. And if I'm there, like on stage, is because I can do. Because I've never, there was a few times I had to cancel a show because I didn't feel comfortable, like I didn't feel ready. I
Right.
never go on stage when I'm not ready. Well, I did a few times, but it's not nice, you know. It's when actually we start to get nervous a lot.
Yes.
And but if I rehearsed a lot for it and go on stage and then something didn't work, they will come and they will be, I mean, now that I'm in a European company, they wait next day to say something, but there it's
No.
right away.
Yeah.
Against a three-act ballet, after first act, if I did something not great, my teacher will come backstage and scream at me. And I'm
Yeah.
like, come on, I have second and third act to go, you know?
Yeah. And sometimes I remember they would even, you've done an entire show as the lead role, 3 acts or something. And then they'll be like, oh, let's go to the studio and rehearse more now. And you're like, seriously?
Or like the director also would come and be like, oh, your double tour was not clean enough. And then you're their 30 minutes doing double tour after this whole like 3-act shows, show, you're completely dead.
Yeah.
And then you have to keep going as if you were going to improve a lot, exhausted.
Yeah.
But I mean, I get what they want, there was so many performances, but they treated it not as like, oh, you have so many chances. You have one chance, because once you start to do a bad job, you will get less and less performance, and then it comes to a point where you won't dance anymore.
Did you ever feel lonely when you were at Mariinsky, or did you have many friends around you? I know at some point you decided to get a dog, right?
Yeah. Well, I arrived in a really fun time in Mariinsky. Let's say it was when Yury decided to invite lots of foreigners.
Yeah,
So we had a
remember.
big community for like 1 or 2 years. And then most of them left. And then a few stayed. But sometimes I would feel lonely, but at work, not really. Like I always had this mindset that I come there to work on me, like it's me time. It's a bit selfish, but that's what I think. Like even before class, I'm not very talkative with my friends at all. I'm with my music and concentrating on the things that I have to do. Like it's a really hard day, like I got no time to lose. So I think because of that, I got to meet lots of friends outside of the theater. And so I would say, I think 90% of my friends in Russia were outside of Mariinsky. Then a few from Mikhailovsky Theater. So we had things in common to talk about, but like not the same. Obviously,
that's
there was, 2 different companies. So we had lots of to talk about, like all the tea, between companies. So.
Oh, that's really nice though. That's really nice. Because I think it also keeps you quite grounded, and helps you go back to work the next day feeling a bit fresher because you've spoken with someone who's not in the same world as you. It can feel a bit like cabin fever, like you're all stuck in the same. Did you have any injuries while you were at Mariinsky at all? And did you? Because I'm interested in this because obviously I had a couple of injuries at school, and I always found, and at the Mikhailovsky, because I was at the Mikhailovsky as well, and I always found that they were a little bit behind in the healthcare department. Like I would get some really strange injections into me that I didn't really know what they were. I was just like, what's that? Okay, just do it anyway. But yeah, tell us about any injuries you had, and was it coped with?
I had in my first year, it was the injury that like changed my whole career, let's say, because before that I only had this thing in school that we didn't really know what it was. Maybe it was overload, I don't know. And but I remember it was right before me and May going to this Bolshoi ballet competition in the TV program thing, that they choose a pair from each company already, like great soloists. And then that year they chose both of us, which was like also a big shock, because we were representing Mariinsky. And so again, talking about competitions, the preparation for this, it was like insane. We had 7 numbers to show. I think 4 classical grand pas de deux, a few modern solo. Anyway, and plus the repertoire of the theater. So we had to deal with both of this. And I was still very weak. It was my first year. I was, changing my body. I became an adult very late, let's say.
Yeah.
I was always, have been this really skinny boy. And then one day in my stage rehearsal, I was not really feeling well before the rehearsal. But I had to do because the TV was there doing a few shots for the program. And then I remember my teacher and the director say "Oh, don't mark, just do full out. The performance is tonight, but you're young, you can do it." And then in the stage, I did the manège, jeté. I did a saut de basque and landed on my foot and just twisted. I heard it cracking. And then I kept going because I was like, I gotta do it, it's for TV. And then I did the grand pires on the same leg afterward.
Oh, God.
And then I remember I finished the pas de deux, was Le Corsaire, and then I started to feel dizzy. And then they saw that my foot was this big.
Oh, God.
And it was really disappointing because of this program. We prepared so much, and I saw my teacher's face. That time was still Seliutsky.
Yeah.
He was really worried, but also a bit disappointed all the work he put into it, because we worked the whole year because he wanted me to go to this competition.
Yeah, of course.
And I had a stress fracture, but in the talus, which is a place very rare for you to have a stress fracture and very hard for them to see that it was a stress fracture. So I went to 12 doctors, I recall, and they all said different things.
Oh, God. In Russia?
In Russia, people said, you have to stop dancing. You need operation. I can do it right here, right now. All these things, or
I'm gonna get a second opinion.
It's nothing. You're young. In 1 week you'll be fine. Just take this injection. Things like that.
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah, and
Classic.
so that because they told me to rest during summer. That was in July. So they were like, rest during summer. You'll be in Brazil in the sun. Don't do any physio. Just rest, and don't do any class. Don't do anything, and it will be fine. It will heal by itself. Then I came back. I did a first plie,
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, no. And then my foot again swollen. And then I actually started the whole treatment, and I was off stage for 6 months.
Yeah.
And my first performance was the Nutcracker after this, and I rehearsed only a week for it. And I did ballet class for only a week after 6 months. I trusted very much on in my personal trainer outside of the theater. I found this guy, a sport clinic guy, and we worked 24/7. Even diet. I changed my diet.
Yeah.
I was focused on only recover, and with one, he put me on stage. He was there during my whole performance in the wings. Checked all my steps. He came to all my rehearsals. He was watching closely. I basically learned to walk again with him.
Amazing.
So and then this injury would kind of come and go, because some of the people, the doctors I saw, they told me I need surgery, but most of them said I need to strengthen, I cannot get weak with it. So even if I'm on holidays, I have to keep pushing and keep my muscles and strong. If they're strong enough, it doesn't hurt. So that's what I've been doing for the past 4 years.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing though. But again, you had to go outside the theatre to find someone who obviously understands athletes. And I think the company and the school have to catch up a little bit in looking after dancers as athletes. They're still quite old fashioned, even in the rehab stuff, the physio machines. You know,
Yes,
like this
yes.
isn't doing anything.
I did have a lots of fights with the company. There was even, I remember there was a meeting with all the foreign dancers and saying, because, I made like scandals. Like I went there and be like, he told me was nothing, like I'm losing time. And then I told all like foreigners, like, you never should go to this doctor, blah, blah, blah. And, I mean, I always like try to fight for my rights, always, and for other people's rights. And we had a meeting saying like they had this doctor for like more than years. It's someone that they trust. But then what happens now is that every time someone gets injured, they always go outside of the theater to a
Mm.
private to treat themselves. And it really won't change. I think it should change, but it won't. But it's something that like they don't care. Like
Well, they
they
should.
just use.
Yeah, they
But
should.
yeah,
Let's hope they catch up eventually, because
yeah, yeah,
it's so difficult, and also you spend extra money going outside.
yeah.
Eventually, hopefully, they'll get it. um, Prior to, because we're going to move on to talking about sort of your decision to move away soon, and the global events that have happened, and prior to that happening and you having to or deciding to leave, could you have seen yourself staying there for the foreseeable future in Mariinsky?
Yes. Like even the day of today, I say that I I kind of know that there is my place. There's no place like that theater. Like there's no feeling. I have never experienced something like this. It's like, I believe in all these spiritual things
Mm.
and faith, and there it's like if I go there, I feel like home,
Mm.
like my light
Yeah,
goes like, uh obviously there are many great places to dance, and I don't like to put labels like who are better or not, but having Mariinsky as your first professional ballet company, it go like you're up here. So you have to go down, even
yeah,
if,
it's very, very hard to
yeah.
beat that.
And most of the companies doesn't have a reach of a repertoire as them.
Mm.
We had 30 performances a month,
Yeah, and
and
obviously two
let's say,
theatres then eventually.
yeah, 10 or 15 productions a month,
Yeah,
like different ballets. And companies, they have like, let's say 7 productions a year. And for me, that I'm still getting used to it. I don't want to say, which one is better, because they're obviously different.
Mm.
But I'm very like glad and grateful that I experienced that, that I can, because I know what real ballet like is. And I had this contact with this art form there, and I feel very blessed for that.
Of course, yeah, I feel the same. When was it that, because obviously you're at Het National now in
Yeah.
Amsterdam, and when did Ted Branson get in touch with you? Did he get in touch with you to offer you a position?
So I knew him for a while before,
Mm.
but when these things, started to happen, obviously I was concerned about my future.
Yeah,
And at that moment, when the war started, I didn't really see myself there. It was not an option for me. I know that, like, to be an artist, you have to have like a little selfish part of you,
yeah,
but that was too much. Like, it was not who I was. I've always been, my mom say, like in Portuguese, like I'm a clean person. I
yeah,
can, like, there was many things telling me not to stay there, even though my place is there.
yeah. Again,
You know what I mean?
you're listening to your gut again.
Yeah. And so because I had that contact, I wrote to him. I explained the situation, and he's like, "You wanna? Can I call you back tomorrow?" And I say yes. Uh, in 5 minutes, in a 5 minutes call, he offered me a position at Dutch National,
Yeah, well, that's
and
brilliant.
I'm very grateful for that. Obviously, he knew like what it was, to take dancers out of nowhere like this, to feed them in the company, in their repertoire. In European companies, they plan the whole season ahead, like, they for each dancer, and then to add someone, it's a big thing. It's a big change. And then having also Ukrainians that he took for the company, and Olga Smirnova also came with me. So it was like big responsibility for him to fit us in, but also to give us the support that we needed after working such companies like Mariinsky and Olga in Bolshoi.
Because obviously in Mariinsky there's quite a few Ukrainians, or half Ukrainian, half Russian. What was the atmosphere like when this was all going on? And obviously artists and the theatre, I feel you kind of separate yourself from the political things of what's going on. How did they feel? Did you get any inkling of did they feel obviously upset?
Well, when it hit, we were in Vladivostok, the other side of Russia, with Ekaterina Chebikina. We were dancing ballet there, and she's Ukrainian, and her whole family is Ukrainian. And I was dancing with her, and I saw that in 1 week she haven't slept, and that whole, agony. I think that's when I thought to myself, it would be really selfish of me to stay in a company like in Russia and ignore what's happening. Like, I know I love this place, but I see how she's suffering, and I have the chance to leave or to stay. I can decide. It's not like a Russian person that is kind of stuck in there.
No.
Even if they really wanted to leave, they're stuck in there. But I could, have a Brazilian passport. I could go anywhere. And I saw her agony during that week. Like she was with her mom on the phone 24/7, and then she had her family going to the metro station because it was being bombed, things like that. So it was awful, honestly. And when I came back to St. Petersburg, the other Ukrainians were also, they didn't know what to do. Their whole life was there. Most of the Ukrainian people that live in Russia, they've been living there for so long. Now it's like they're all mixed, everyone has a relative that is Ukrainian or Russian, and they live in harmony inside of the country.
Yeah, of course.
And then this started. I mean, it's just, I had the choice to leave, and then I just decided to leave. But I do feel bad that some of like Russian dancers that really wanted to leave the whole system, they couldn't.
No. Oh, that's really amazing to hear, and I'm so sorry for all those people, and but it's good to hear like an insight into what was going on. And I'm just hoping,
we tried to get like politics and arts like apart. Instead of Mariinsky, I didn't feel any time that I was under any dangerous. Actually, we had a meeting with the director. They were there for us. We were all so afraid, and they had so much support for us. They said like, don't worry, we will protect you, like whatever it takes, for you guys to stay here safe. It's our responsibility too. Like Yury was, he felt very concerned because he took all these corners, and it's quite sad that we had to leave. Most of us left like this.
Of course. And do you miss it and Mariinsky? And if this wasn't happening, and in further down in the future, would you ever go back?
I think so.
Yeah.
I still have things that I didn't like. I have this book that I wrote all the roles that I want to do, and there's things like some of the roles I didn't cross yet on my list. And I'm someone, that I don't go I don't let anything behind that I put in that book. I will work until I do it. And well, I really hope I can go back there and do what I was supposed to do.
Yeah, it's like that whole magazine again with Kim Kimin.
Yeah,
It's all Kim Kimin. It's like, I will get there.
yeah,
And I hope you do. I hope you do. Because you deserve it, obviously. But now you're at Dutch National in Amsterdam, very, very different place. And
yeah.
you know, how is the life there? Are you enjoying it? And how's, you know, the company?
I was really surprised when I come. I was expecting, people to be like, who is this? Like, what is he doing here? Taking our places, because that's how I felt when I first got to Russia.
Yeah.
But it was exactly the opposite. I mean, they've been so supportive, so friendly. I got there, they even like offered me clothes, ballet clothes, because when I left Russia, I left in such a rush with one luggage, like 5 years in one luggage. I left everything behind, my whole apartment, and I didn't have much things, and they provide me everything, and they right away included me and Olga in their program. The season was, already like done for a long time with the repertoire and the casting, but they put us in the casting. Then we started the Raimonda production, and which we were also involved, and that was like our first, let's say, debut with the company, and it was a huge success. I mean, August, this iconic person, and everything that has happened, like the past months, about uh, her position with all the war and everything. Uh, I'm very grateful to be working with someone like her and learning from her, not only inside the studio but outside of the studio. I feel like I'm a much better and wiser person because I know Olga.
Yeah, she's, even at school, you know, I'd watch her practice with Kovalova, and she'd just be so mature, but almost like, you know, so calm and collected, and just kind of goes into her zone. And like, she almost like, she would almost go into a daze and like almost see herself do it how she wants it before she'd actually then do it, you know. And I found that
Yeah,
so,
she does that on the rehearsals. Yeah,
yeah. And I
it's
used to be
so
like,
fascinating. Yeah,
yeah. And I used to be so like mesmerized by her and just be like, wow, like she looks and is the total embodiment of what I imagine a ballerina, like a real ballerina, to be, you know. So being close with her, like for me, I watched her a lot, but for you as well, being close to someone like that and also being their friend, I think is, yeah, you don't get that chance very often, and she is a wonderful person to learn from, I think. Yeah. Um, so Victor, what's you know, your biggest goal in your career? Like, do you have a goal in mind at the moment that you're working towards, and do you have something you have your eyes set on that's coming next for you?
Well, I'm very grateful for Dutch National,
Mm.
and these past 3 4 months that I was there, I was still adapting. So I'm really looking forward to start the season now as a member, and to start the season as a dancer of the Dutch National.
Mm.
So the repertoire there is very interesting this season, and I think the first classical production. Before that, we will have a modern triple bill, but the first classical production will be Sleeping Beauty, which I will be dancing with Olga,
Oh,
and it's a new version for both of us, and I'm very excited for that. And I think, my goal is to do my job well in this new place and see how life goes and where life throws me, because after what happened in March, out of nowhere, this whole change, I don't really like to plan something too much ahead,
mm.
let's say. but I do have lots of guestings, requests. I will be doing the world premiere of Ballet in Rome with Maya Macatelli, also a prima ballerina from the Dutch national. Olga will be also be performing there with Jacob this same ballet. So there's lots of exciting little things, coming up. Um, let's say lots of doors in Europe and in the whole world opened for me, like after what happened.
Yeah.
And for that, I'm very grateful.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. I think you have a really healthy way of looking at life and your career. And I think, the way you look at it is a very sustainable way that I think is going to lead you to have a really long lasting career. You listen to yourself, you listen to the signs, and you go with the flow, and you trust yourself when you're on stage. It's all, really, leads you to be the great dancer you are, and becoming even more. So that's great. So before we finish, just tell us, you're in Japan at the moment, right?
Yes.
Talking of excitement, so what's going on in Japan for you at the moment, Victor?
There's a gala here in the new National Theater, and together with the National TV. And this was something that was planned already a year or 2 years ago, but then COVID and postponed things. And then, the war started. I changed company, and I'm
Yeah, a lot
dancing with
going on.
May. We were, not together anymore. And I didn't know if this would happen. But then the past few months, we worked out on it, and I came to perform here. I'm actually the only foreigner dancing the gala. It's like a superstars Japanese gala, There will be Shoko. I don't know her family, but she's like a superstar in Japan.
Yeah.
And also the Mei Nagahisa, which I'm dancing with, and many other great Japanese stars performing this gala, and I'm very honored, to be there with them.
Yeah. I'm sure the audience will love you. I know Japanese audiences are just, ballet crazy. They just love it.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
that's so
mean,
exciting.
already this week, we had a few like contact with Japanese fans and uh, things like that, and it's great. I mean, the way they treat us
Oh,
it's
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, they're so hospitable. It's amazing. Well, Victor, thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure talking with you and hearing about, everything, your time at Mariinsky and the decision to leave, all that stuff, and the competitions. And I hope, you get more and more success, because it's what you definitely deserve, and you're very inspiring. So thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me.
Thank you very much for having me, and yeah, it was a pleasure.
Yeah. Thank you, Victor.
Thank you.